here. Beautiful. Happy day to you all. My name's Erik Hatch with Hatch Realty and Hatch Coaching out of Fargo, North Dakota. It's our job, our goal, our mission to try to deeply influence the real estate community in the best sorts of ways. I've had the privilege of being a licensed realtor for 15 years. I've been full-time for the last 10. And in the last 10 years, I've been a part of over 4,000 home transactions, including pacing for 700 to 800 transactions this year, which makes us one of the top 50 real estate teams in the country. And 4 years ago, we were just so passionate about this, and we love working with our real estate team, but we said maybe there's a bigger opportunity to start sharing some of this other goodness with others. And so we opened up Hatch Coaching, and our intention is to redefine how people treat people and to throw as much goodness out there into the world as we can. And that's where we find ourselves today. Hatch Coaching is putting out products and webinars and videos and training classes and modules and coaching and events and all that sort of stuff, just to try to help you get a little better with your business. The topic for today is a good one. We're going to talk about doubling your home sales in the next 12 months. And seeing the people that are on this group, and I know some folks are going to watch the replay of this as well, everybody's all over the board. We have some folks who maybe are only selling but a few houses, and I want to tell you, like, I've been there. I know the grind and know how difficult it is. Some people are on a team. They're a team member, and they're oftentimes looking to their rainmaker or the owner to be the catalyst to really get their business healthy. And I want to show you, and we'll talk about some incremental ways that you can be building your own business within a business. Some of you are solopreneurs, and you're doing a hustle of a sort where you're selling, anywhere from 20 to 60 or 70 houses on your own. And then others of you are team leaders, and you have, anywhere from 50 to 500 transactions or so annually that you're touching. So this is a really broad topic to talk about. How are we going to double our home sales in the next 12 months? And I think I have the right recipe for all of you. So humor me, go along with me, but I want this to be a conversation and not just a presentation. So please ask questions, make comments. I don't like just speaking to a webcam. I want to know that people are curious, and when points are there, like, pretend you're Baptist for a day and give me an amen if I rock something, and if something's sour, just make a sour face, but you don't have to tell me that sucked. But make it interactive. Let us know that you are paying attention. Let us know that you care. And with that, here we go. I'm going to jump over to my slideshow here. Just a very quick moment. Share my screen. There's the one. Okay, gang. Here we go. Again, doubling your home sales in the next 12 months. Let's talk about your habits. We're going to go through a number of things of what you can do, but everything, no matter what you do, no matter who you are, no matter how you do it, it starts with you. And this is elementary 101 type business management stuff. And yet, even if you are an expert at this, it is so important to still hit the refresh button all the time to remember why you do what you do. Frankly, some of the best realtors I know in terms of selling houses still stink at this, and that is mastering your schedule. To do what's only on your schedule is huge. I think of Bill Gates, and I'm going to bounce back and forth here a little bit. So there's the bounce. I think of Bill Gates when he was building Microsoft. That guy had hyper focus, didn't he? Like, he had so much energy and intention on building something and building it great. So he wasn't the guy that was in the middle of programming and in the middle of designing. He wasn't being interrupted by other people for conversations. And he wasn't checking his email, and he wasn't searching on social media, and he wasn't letting the first thing that comes in be the most urgent. Instead, he's like, this is the one thing I have to do, and I have to go so terribly deep with it. And if you can figure out how to honor your time block and how to honor that commitment to what's most important for you, I'm convinced that you're going to find more meat on the bone. It's not always about buying more business. It's not about hustling for more business. It's about doing more with the business that we already have. If we all could grow our businesses where we had our past client and sphere of influence done at a really high level, we wouldn't have to go and buy business elsewhere. Like, what kind of profit would you experience if you didn't have to purchase business and you could just invest in people? See, the only way you can get there is if you get really intentional with your sphere. It's not just sending them a text message every once in a while and inviting them to a client event. It is pouring in habitually and religiously in order to get that to work. See, if we're going to figure out how to master our spheres, and if we're going to figure out how to master our schedules, those kind of mastery pieces, well, it's going to take some discipline to do only what's on your schedule. If you're going to run a marathon, and I tell you, okay, tomorrow you have to run a marathon, some of you could do it. There's in fact an episode of How I Met Your Mother where Barney says, oh, I can run a marathon. And he does. He goes and runs the marathon and accomplishes it. And then he gets on the subway to go home and can't stand up and gets stuck on the subway driving all around New York City. See, that's what happens with a lot of us when we throw a deep dive into a schedule when we're not in marathon shape. It's really difficult. And this is the same for us as it is for our team members. Those of us that have the privilege of leading teams, this is a cascading time for all this information to these people that we have the privilege of leading. So it's not about doing lead generation for 3 or 4 hours a day if they've never done lead generation before. You start with 30-minute blocks and then to 40-minute and then 50 and 60. But what you need to do is you need to make sure that that's the only thing that you're doing. All other distractions are off the table, right? It also needs to be said that lead follow-up, you see here in B, lead follow-up is greater than lead generation. I'm going to say this, is I think that a number of you who are on teams have databases that are tens of thousands of people. Leads you've purchased, clients you've worked with, people in your own sphere that you've added, but we have a large database. And yet we go and we spend our money to buy new business. New business is lead generation. Adding people to your database is lead generation. Lead follow-up is touching those that are already in your database. Here's a bold and yet I think true statement is you could turn off all new lead sources in your business for the next year and just take the effort to stop chasing new and to shake the tree of what you have. And I actually think you're gonna obviously spend far less, and I think you'll sell more. See, mastery is far better than being a general. And you're at the cusp right now. You and your team members are at the cusp. And if you can focus your energy and your efforts on lead follow-up more than just lead generation, I think you're gonna be in a really good spot. The second piece that's important for me to bring up here as we talk about our habits, and then we're gonna get really deep into some other goodness here, is to keep your priorities in order. I'm not talking about the priorities of like do your lead gen and lead follow-up right away and then role play and like, yes, that's important. Yes, that's a webinar in and of itself, but I'm talking about these priorities. On the base of this pyramid here, I'm gonna put God and family and self. And I'm not here to preach or teach religion, but we all have things that are the most important thing in our life. We say, and I hear all the time, people will say to me, you know, I'm doing this for my family. And then you're not with your family, you know? Your family just wants you and your time. They don't need a ton of stuff. They don't need the nicest car. They need the nicest parents and the nicest love that they can get. See, there's this irony that's there of where we are, where we're pursuing things that are wealth and riches and abundance, and we abandon the things that we want those wealth and riches and abundance for, and that's our God and ourself and our family. And so we need to have our priorities in order, and we need to make sure that as we're going to double our business, it is not at the cost of God, family, and self. Now, this next piece here is where I think most people mess up. I have a buddy, he's a realtor in Fargo where I live, and he and I went out to lunch, and he said, Erik, this is finally the year that I put my clients first. And he has a team of about 10 people. And I heard that, and I'm like, dude, that is such a bad idea. Your clients should not come first. Your God, your family, and yourself should come first, followed by your team. See, a lot of times we want to try to figure out how do we add more business to our infrastructure by buying more business, by selling more houses. And instead, if we were pouring into our team to give them the best chance to succeed, we get to have success through others. Doubling our sales in 12 months means our entire ecosystem. In fact, I wrote a book on it. Here's a shameless plug, but I wrote a book called Play for the Person Next to You. And in this, it's all about helping the person next to you succeed. And that's how you find your abundance. If you want to double your sales, how are you going to help your team double their sales? And don't go buy it. Like, that is not my recommendation, is to buy your way to the top. My recommendation is to do the incremental strategic steps in order to help those people in your world succeed. Jumping back to it here, after your team and your God and your family come your clients. If you're great to your team and great to yourself, your clients are going to be found to be better served, and you'll find more of them. Also, teaching your team how to work their own sphere, how to work their own past clients, how to go and kill their own is so important. I'll tell you this, that at Hatch Realty, we're a team of 38, I think, right now. We'll do, again, 700 or 800 transactions this year. We've had a really healthy spring despite all this COVID stuff. It's been a wild ride. And we have, of our producing agents, we have 6 producing buyer agents, 3 listing agents, and 3 expansion partners. So we have 12 total people in production. We also have ISAs and showing partners and a lot of admin support. And so that's how we get to our 38. Is we're built not just having 30 agents hoping that they can figure it out. We instead have developed a training system and a farm system to help people graduate to the top. So now I look at this, and half of our business this year, of the 700 plus transactions that we'll do, come from past clients and sphere of influence. Half. It happens every year because all those agents that are in production for us, our buyer agents, our expansion agents, and our listing agents, they're each doing between 15 and 40 sphere deals a year. Now, what does our world have to look like in order to have those kind of people stay around? I mean, it looks far different than just bringing the next person up, right? So it's created a totally different series of problems that we love having, because I'd choose my problems over most other people's problems any day. But in that ecosystem as well, we've taught them how to chase after and feed themselves. See, a lot of us who run teams are fearful of our agents feeding themselves and working their sphere really well because they feel like they're going to become flight risks. I have 6 different agents on my team that'll each make $200,000 to $300,000 a year in net commission. That's what they'll take home this year in a community where our average sales price is $230,000. They're living big lives with low risk, and they get to do the things that they love every day. And I've had to grow my ecosystem, and I hope that's a takeaway for you, is that I think that if you want to double your sales, you got to figure out how your team can start converting more of their own sphere. Teach them, show them, encourage them, give them the help that they need so that they can feed themselves. And then you as a leader have to grow an ecosystem that's so robust that you that they won't become flight risks, right? And then you have a farm system that if they do leave, well, you have people that can jump back up and into production. Hope that makes sense. I want to move on here. We're going to jump to the next slide. Again, have a conversation with me here. Ask some questions, give some comments. I want to know that you're with me. Want to know that we're scratching the itch that you have. I do want to give you 5 tactics that I think won't cost you anything, because again, I've tried to emphasize the point that buying your way to the top is an irresponsible way to grow a business. If you want to double your business in the next 12 months, let's look at these 5 areas. The first are open houses. I'm going to add door knocking to that too. I don't know if open houses are going to be a thing in a couple of months. I know they're not right now. But I do know that it is one of the best ways to identify people. And if not an open house, go knock on doors. If you knock on doors for 3 hours a week, like you maybe do open houses for 3 hours a week, I think you pull the same amount of business. It is free, it costs you nothing, and it's a great way to have a conversation with people. So you can do this, your team can do this, but it's going to help you sell more houses. Number 2, social media is giant. I just got off a coaching call today with some of my clients, and they are some top realtors in the state of Maryland. And I challenged them to actually be the news. I said, do you know your stats for what's happened in your market the last 2 months? And they rattled it off for me. And I said, okay, do your people know those stats? And they're like, well, no, not really. Like their team knows it, but their Facebook fans and their database, they don't know that. Like we get a chance to be the news right now. not to tell the national story, but to tell the local story of what's happening. You get a chance to shine a light on other people. Like, you get to be the chamber of commerce with your social media. Your social media is not used to sell. Please hear that so clearly, is that your social media is not used to sell. And instead, it's a strategy to show the character of who you are and remind people of what you do. Please write that down if you're taking notes. Social media is to remind people of what you do and show the character of who you are. So you don't need to sell a house. You don't need to post all your new listings on social media, and your team members don't need to talk about all the houses that they're selling. And instead, talk about the great people you get to work with. Tell stories, shine a light on others, and then you'll just remind people that you happen to be in real estate. I can attribute probably $250,000 in commission annually to social media. It is such an intentional strategy. And again, just like all the other lead generation things, you can't jump in it. You shouldn't post 5 times a day if you're not posting 5 times a day right now. You'll burn yourself and your Facebook friends out. You will burn them out. And instead, just gradually move into it and schedule this out. Scheduling social media is so unbelievably important, and it is a way in which you can sell a lot more without having to actually spend a dime. Next is hyper focus. I can tell you that back in my career, in 2011, I went independent. I sold 52 houses my first year as a full-time agent. I was doing ministry before that, and then I moved into real estate full-time. Sold 52 houses my first year as a solo agent, and then I grew a team. And we added new construction to our repertoire. We went from 52 transactions with me to 192 that next year. We added 140 transactions, and about 35 of those actually came from new construction. See, I found a builder to represent. We got masterful and understood that. So we sold 35 listings, and we actually represented probably 15 of those. So we added 50 new transactions by becoming an expert on a new construction piece. And now we're repping a builder where I think we'll probably do 70 to 80 deals on both sides just with that one builder. And that's 10% of our business with one person. And so they actually end up giving us listings. They end up giving us clients because they know that we're going to keep feeding them and they're going to feed us. The same would be said about getting masterful with a farm. Don't throw all your money towards like a lead source that you can't get very specific with. Social media, retargeting on social media allows you to focus in on certain neighborhoods and areas. Direct mail helps you do that, and doing events helps you do that. And I think that getting really intentional, with a farm is a great, great strategy. Of course, you want to think about referrals as well. I know that when I was building my business, I wanted to make sure that these referrals were an intentional piece. I started working with a lender and developed just a great rapport with him. And this was the year in which I did 52 deals. I developed a great rapport with him and I started feeding him business. And then I said, after I fed him a couple, I'm like, hey, how about some coming my way? And I added probably a half dozen transactions just by having that one referral partner. And the same is to be said about referral groups. The same is to be said about other industries that can get people your way. I have a friend that runs an assisted living facility. I pick up listings from her all the time. And some of those I'm flipping as well and making crazy money on. And so whether it's you or your team members, getting intentional and a strategy around referrals, again, will cost you your time, but it doesn't cost you your money. The final piece I want to bring up, things that cost you nothing to grow your business, is community engagement. I had no idea that my 10 years in ministry was going to lead me to a really great career in real estate. I just had no idea. See, I was passionate about ministry and I just did everything I could to serve and to give and to love. And I was active in a lot of things, and I showed up at people's events, and then I showed up on social media, and then I called them, and then I visited them, and I just did that on repeat. I was hyper involved in my community. And for all of you right now, I want to challenge you to say, how involved are you in your community? It feels like it's a tough win. Like, how can you monetize that involvement? And it doesn't happen overnight. It's the long game. I know the topic of today is to double your sales in 12 months, but if you want to double your sales in 2023, you got to be involved in your community now, at least to reap those benefits. It is a long-term play. If you haven't read it, I recommend doing so. Simon Sinek wrote a book recently called The Infinite Game. And it speaks of just that, as playing a really long-term game and having a strategy so that you win on the back end of things. You win after you've done all the work and you've created and captured the mind share, not the market share, but the mind share, where you're front of mind for people consistently. Moving on. Again, if you have questions or comments, fire them my way, but I want to share with you those that have a team or those that are on your own. This rule pertains to all of you. Write it down and remember it. It's the rule of 20 to 1. Now, I'll put an asterisk on this, and I'll say that if you are in a low-priced market, meaning probably an average sales price of $170,000 or less, or if you're in a market where your average sales price is maybe $350,000 and above, this rule looks different for you. But for the rest of us that are between $170,000 and $350,000 for our average sales price, I think the rule of 20 to 1 plays. I studied top teams and performers across the industry to try to figure out what is that right rate or ratio in order to have an efficient team. And there's always outliers in this that are performing at higher or lower levels. I have a buddy who has a team where they sell, 1,000 houses a year, but he has 120 or 130 team members. See, this rule of 20 to 1 is the number of transactions to the number of people on your team. If he had 120 people and did 1,000 transactions, that means that really his ratio is like 8 to 1. So think of the type of people that are in an environment when that rule is 8 to 1. These are probably new people. These are people that are probably leaving when they hit a certain point. That's not a world that I want. Some people have great success with that. That's just not what I found to be right for me and the way in which I've developed. Then on the flip side of things, I've also seen, I have a buddy, Chad Schwindeman, who's in a small town called Brainerd, Minnesota. His market is 60,000 people, and Chad's team sells 900 homes a year. And he does 900 homes with 30 team members. So his ratio is 30 to 1. See, people will ask me all the time, Erik, how many people does it take? How many salespeople do you have? How many ISAs? How many admin? And frankly, I don't think it matters the job or the role of the person. I think that the rule of 20 to 1 is a healthy balance. A lot of the people I coach, I have a coaching client down in Texas. Her name's Tanya Harbin. She was at a ratio of like 32 transactions to every one person on her team. What kind of burnout is happening? What kind of grind are those people going through? Yes, they're making massive dollars, but they're going to blow up and burn out soon. And so now we've added 4 more team members to Tanya's team. She's at more of like a 23 to 1 ratio right now. Because again, that 20 to 1 ratio is where I think health really looks. She's added now in the last 2 years, she's added about 150 transactions to her team. And it's been an awesome thing to watch because she's followed this rule now and she's studying to say, okay, this is how we keep things healthy. Because if we're going to grow, if we're going to double our sales, you might need to double your team members or get your current team members more efficient. What's your number? Where are you at right now? I know that our goal this year was to get to 800 transactions. We did 633 this last year. We've been between 590 and 670 the last 4 years. And we kind of hit a glass ceiling. And we looked around and I looked at my team member count and it was always around 32 to 35 people, always. And I'm like, Erik, you idiot. More people, not just more people for people's sake, like they have to fit into the system that you have. More people will help you get to your goal of getting to 800 plus transactions. And so now we're adding people. We have 5 more that are going to onboard with us in July. We just added a new ISA last week. Like we're growing, we're following it, and we're getting ready for that next growth piece. So that rule of 20 to 1, super important. I hope you can walk away with that as a nugget. I've heard this question asked of some industry leaders. If I had $30,000 to spend to grow my business, I would spend it on, or I would put that money towards. And the best answer I've ever heard on this is a who. See, the answer to almost all your problems is a who. And I think that you might be that who. You the who. And I want to show you that you are the most important thing in your ecosystem. Even if you're a team member watching this right now, I want you to know that you should be building leverage around you. This is a, excuse me, this is a leverage game. This is a system and structure game where you need to figure out how to monetize and maximize your best asset. And your best asset is you. So I want to share with you how we've built this and what we've done in order to maximize this. I recommend if somebody's starting a team, or even if you're on a team, that this is how your structure looks. If you're on a team, if you're a team member, the admin is usually already taken care of for you. If you're on a team that doesn't have much admin support, the first thing you need to do is add an admin. But I'll use this, let's say your name is John, and John is an agent looking to build a team. The natural instinct that I hear from almost everybody is I'm going to hire a buyer agent. A buyer agent is going to make me money. A buyer agent is going to take the leads that I can't get to, and they're going to just bring me back all this meat. They're going to bring me back all this money. Let's say that the average commission is $10,000. You give a buyer agent $10,000 hoping that they bring back $5,000. If you're on a 50-50 split, right? Do you just hear how irresponsible that is with your money? Because number one, they're probably not trained exceedingly well. Number two, they're probably not a great lead converter. They're probably not experienced enough to negotiate a win for their client, which hurts your past client referrals. They're probably not seasoned. They're probably not practiced enough. They're probably not ready. And you're giving them $10,000 expecting them to bring back $5 every time. Frankly, they're not going to bring back $5. I think they'll bring back $5,000 every third time, where you can maybe convert at, I know you can't convert at 100%, but let's just say for argument's sake, you can convert at 100%. They're going to convert at 30 or 40%. I guarantee you. And so this thought of hiring a buyer agent is irresponsible. This thought of how do I double my sales, it needs to come with you still as the producer. I have built an ecosystem for Hatch Realty, and now with our coaching clients too, of utilizing the showing partner model. I'll talk about Mike Novak. Mike is in Seattle, Washington, a suburb of there. And Mike started coaching with me late summer. He had major financial issues. He had hired about 20 new agents, was working with another coach, and hired about 20 agents to his team because he thought that more agents would lead to more sales. And it didn't. It led to more headaches. It led to more toxicity in their culture. It led to like throwing something against the wall and seeing if it sticks is not a good business strategy. And so we reshaped his business. We started to build showing partners for him and a couple of his agents. Mike just sent me a message telling me that his April, he made more money in April than in any other month that he ever had before. He made over 6 figures between his commission and his team profit in 1 month. A guy who's only selling he's selling 250 or so homes a year, and he's making 6 figures each month now. And that's happening because he recognized that he's the most valuable person in his world. And if he just hired all those agents to try to sell more houses for him, well, he wasn't making more money. They were converting at a piss poor rate, pardon my French. And then he had so many leadership problems and culture problems, and it was making him go crazy. And instead, now he moved to a showing partner model, where this person is tending to and doing all of the busy work of being an agent. See, a showing partner, as you see here on number 3, is that way to start leveraging somebody so that they can buy back time. You're going to be the best lead converter. You're going to be the best lead generator. You're going to be the best negotiator. So keep doing more of that. I've watched Mike go from selling himself 4 or 5 houses a month to now he's selling 12 to 15 houses a month. And think about that profit. Let's use a $10,000 commission again as an example. Let's say that he has the most unbelievable buyers agents in his world, and they're gonna convert on those every single time. So 5 deals, 5 commissions of $10,000 each is $50,000. Mike makes on that $25,000. The agent on that makes $25,000. If he has this magical agent that's this incredible converter, which none of us have, unless you've built an ecosystem where they can grow and go. Now, that just cost him $25,000, but he made $25,000. But what if Mike had a showing partner that he paid, I don't know, $3,000 or $4,000 a month for? We pay ours $2,500 a month because we're in a lower sales price than where Mike is at. He's paying his, I think, $4,000 a month. He keeps all those commissions. So he now made, out of that $50,000, he made $46,000. He made $46,000 and that person made $4,000. Who's going to apply to be a showing partner? Well, I'll tell you this. Since we changed it from giving somebody a job offer to being just full-time commission coming into our world, we changed it from now you're taking a risk. Because if you can do full-time commission, you either have a sugar daddy or a sugar mama, a trust fund, or really bad financial habits. And then there's that small few that actually like saved a lot of money, right? I'm not sure many of those lead to great success. It's why we have such a high turnover rate in our businesses, because we just throw people to it and we hope that they can make it work. Since we started our showing partner position, and we've kept most of them in our ecosystem, they don't all stay, but most of them do. Every single person in the last 6 years that started as a showing partner is still in real estate production today. That's a pretty cool thing, and we've had great success for them. But we've been able to have our agents maximize their profit because they can double their sales without spending twice as much. See, it's about building these teams and building these ecosystems and these teams within teams. Our world has 5 different teams, 6 different teams. These are all agent teams where they have their own partners and they have their own worlds because they're now maximizing and building this farm system so that the next person is going to earn their way to the top. See, the best kind of real estate team has everything earned and nothing given. And so if somebody wants a company produced lead, an ISA lead, or if they want something that comes from my marketing dollars, they have to earn that. I'm not just going to give it to them. And it's with this strategy, I went from selling, in 2013, we did 246 homes to now we're going to do over 700 homes this year. It's because we've tripled our production because we've started to work smarter and not harder. And we've now developed these teams within teams, and we've developed these showing partner models where in the last, a year and a half ago, within a 12-month period, I had 50% of my production gone. Had to let some people go and had some people relocate, and then a couple people quit, and we had 50% of our producers gone. And our production dropped, get this, 5% for the year. Lost 50% of people, and our production dropped 5%. Amidst this COVID stuff right now, here's what I'm seeing for people that are using this model. I've been shocked because I predicted that April and May, we'd see a 30 to 50% decrease in sales. Now, the market shows that I'm hearing from most people is that their markets are down for pending transactions in the last 45 days. Their markets are down between 10 and 20%. If that's different for you, please put it in the chat box because I want to know if that's different for you. But most markets are down 10 or 20% for pending transactions. They're down 30 to 40% for new listings in the last 45 days, 30 to 40%. Again, if you're different, put it in the chat box because I want to know. But this has seemingly been almost industry-wide. And the teams that have used these showing partners and that have trained their people exponentially well and that do all those disciplined efforts, I'm having text messages and conversations from people saying, April was our best month ever. April at Hatch Realty was our best month ever. Our market was down 35% for new listings. Still our best month ever. The pendants were down 13%. Still our best month ever. And it's because we're doing the things that nobody else is doing. Is we're building leverage. We're using our systems, our time, because I only have so much time in the day. But if I can train people exceedingly well and help them to grow to have really big lives, hot diggity dog, you're going to find yourself bursting with opportunity and with wealth, and doubling your sales won't be near as difficult as you think. Now, Again, first two hires, admin, because you're leveraging yourself. If you're not on a team and you're building this yourself, admin, first two hires. One of them takes things off your plate so you can breathe. The next one helps you grow. They start adding new things and they start testing new marketing things. And that's when you really start leveraging yourself. Then the next hire is a showing partner. Again, you're keeping all the commission and you're paying salaries. You're betting on yourself and your business structure. Number 4, an ISA. An ISA is an inside sales agent. And an ISA is converting purchased leads into appointments for the clients or into appointments for the company. Again, they're converting purchased leads into appointments for the company. At this point, you need to hopefully start growing your business in your ecosystem. And this is when you're starting to buy things. I'm not going to go super in depth on what I think you should spend your money on, but I'd love to have conversations with you on where I think your money can be best spent. It's just unique for each market, and it's too general for me to cover here. The next piece I want to share with you, though, in this final hiring piece is this. It is a showing partner. Again, another showing partner, because if you do it right, your first showing partner should be graduating to be a buyer agent, because you know that they have earned it. They haven't been given it, but they've earned the right to receive a $5,000 commission on every $10,000 transaction that comes their way. They've now grown in your world and they've earned it by graduating. They graduate usually by checking some boxes. In our world, it's, did you reach your sphere production? They have to do 20 sphere deals in their time with us in order to graduate into production. Have they been with us at least a calendar year? And do they meet the qualifications of competency? Do we think that we can trust them with clients? And so now your first showing partner should be graduating to a buyer agent, or maybe you need to just force them up because your business is growing so robustly. And you need to, again, leverage you. So this second showing partner is for you again. You're going to be spending your time doing listings. You're going to be spending your time negotiating things, but you are not running around town anymore. You are a leader. You are shifting into leadership. And that is that key, essential, final piece that's so difficult for people to do, is to transition yourself from being a producer to a leader. And that's the key that's going to unlock for you everything in your world. Doubling your sales in the next 12 months actually won't come from you just selling more houses. It comes from you growing as a leader, because your world needs to get better, not just you and your success. I have a coaching client who's on this right now, and so he knows the story of his situation. But where we find ourselves is he's grown a world where everybody has hit a point of mediocrity. They haven't been their best selves, and he so desperately wants it for them. And in fact, he's tried to buy that way for them. He's tried to spend so much money to help them by giving them that low-hanging fruit to go after. And he needs to switch his energy to no longer buy that low-hanging fruit and instead inspire these people to work their way up. Inspire these people to know what they want in life, have a clear understanding of their why, and then holding them accountable so that they can find more and be more. So, in summary, stop spending so much money. Start working your systems and milking things for what it's worth. Build all the leverage around you. Follow the rule of 20-1. And my goodness, if you do those things, I think you're going to find yourself doubling your home sales in the next 12 months. With that, if you have questions, fire them my way. I want to just point out a couple other things as we look to wrap here. And again, I want to be available for any conversations, online, offline. I just want to help you grow. That gives me life and it makes me feel good. If you're looking to grow consistently for you and or your team, check this out. I'm going to post a link here and we'll send it out. We'll always send out a copy of this when we're done. But Robbie is my main partner here with Hatch Coaching. He and I have been pouring into our YouTube page lately. And so go and subscribe to this. Have you and your team members subscribe to this, because we're putting out content at least a couple times a week that is going to hopefully walk you through a lot of these steps and hopefully have you save some serious cash. The second thing is we have a whole bunch of tools at Hatch Coaching, and we built a marketplace out. So in the email, we're going to give you a 15% discount code for you to save some cash if you want to purchase anything that we have, trainings and games to play with your agents and that sort. Jonathan Carbuti, thanks, man. Great points and info. Doing my best to try to bring value. The final piece is another great tool for you would be to go on Facebook. If you go to facebook.com/leadsgeeks, words are tough. Let me type it in here, Leads Geeks. If you go to facebook.com/leadsgeeks, it's an awesome community that we curated that just help on a lot of this stuff all the time. So with that, I look forward to hearing some success stories from you all on how you can double your home sales in the next 12 months, how you're growing your business, and how you're finding massive wealth. I'm off. I'm going to go work on my tan. It's like 45 degrees today. Fargo nice. So with that, much love, everybody.